I'm very pleased to be interviewing Steve Farella, who is Maxcom Global Media and Target Cast TCM CEO, and Mitch Oscar, who is a televisual application executive.
My title might be longer, but yours is much more interesting.
Well, I want to thank you for your time, and I want to talk the collaborative. So we recently had a collaborative alliance. It was very well attended. Can you tell me how it all started and where you see its place in the system? Where do you see it going?
I think how it all started is really up to you, but then I'll add a couple of words.
I was desperate to keep my job at CARA. People weren't doing as much on advanced television as they should. I put together a think tank of the 25 right people that I thought it was very boring. So then we started to invite people to do 15-minute presentations. I was able to work on some as we were doing interactive television addressability, and from that we evolved from 25 people to the other day there were 240, and during Ad Week there's 400 to 450.
And I should point out that the most recent one had torrential rains. It
Oh,
was terrible weather. So
Well, it was even worse than that because Nielsen was the week before for 3 days. The
Right.
ARF was on Monday and Tuesday. The upfront was moving, and there was torrential rains, and we managed to
you did
pull
very
in those
well.
people. That's right.
And since it was the first collaborative that Maxcom did, with Mitch, we were thinking, what if we threw a collaborative and nobody came because of the rain? But it was packed. It was standing room only.
Yes. Let's talk a little bit about what was discussed there and any feedback that you might have gotten as a result of it.
Again, I want you to take the lead, and I'm going to...
Okay, so what we try to do with the collaborative, and as Steve has said, in terms of Maxcom strategy, video across platforms, second screens, social TV, these are things that we think about all the time. So we put together a panel of different presenters. So there was ESPN and measurement across 5 screens. So that's an important issue for us. There's also the second screen Time Warner, what might go on with social media and second screen. Condé Nast we thought was interesting because print and digital print, what's happening, and Scott McDonald was very nice to share their insights from Condé Nast. We also have a think tank, which we call the, it's Dataist, so not Surrealist. And we talked about the extension of television through broadband, which was Collective presented, through social TV, Trender, the last remaining independent social TV measurement company, and also the TVB representing broadcast live mobile, because these are all parts of what we're thinking. It's TV, it's video, but we're engaging with people. So it's about communications, and to get them not where the first screen is or the fourth screen is, it's any screen. So that, and then we close, of course, with John Carey, who talked about the mobile and its involvement. I don't know if Steve knows this yet, but John said, there's a topic I'd like to deal with on the next collaborative. I said, what is it? And he said, smut, and I said, you're in.
Well, that should bring them in no matter what the
That's
weather
right.
is. So, Steve, what did Maxcom think of the collaborative? Its very first one.
That's right. Well, first, as you know, I've been to them before. I've seen Mitch do them. I was delighted to have the opportunity to let's call it sponsor, help him put this on. 2 things really came out that struck me. Number one, many people came up to me and said, thank you for doing this. Almost as if it was giving back to the community this information in this way. Because if you know, and as you know, you were there, it's a different format. It's not talking heads. It is one after the other presentation on the hot topic of the day. So we thought that was absolutely terrific. So number one, kind of giving back to the community. The other thing is that, man, were people talking. So I don't know where you were. I played family hold back, so I did not sit down. I stood up, and I stood in a number of different places. And after one presenter finished, there was a buzz about the information. I mean, so much so we actually did a couple of shh, keep it down. But people were really buzzing about it, so that's great.
Your interest in seeing happen with,
Well,
with
it's
the
the
collaborative?
sharing in the community, because everything is proprietary. So unless someone will open it up, then most people won't know. It's very industry specific, so this way we make it wider. That's one. Secondly, I get to learn quite a bit, which is terrific.
Right.
And we also attract a lot of people to Maxcom in this example, where they'll say, well, we have a platform, we have a research capability, would you take a look at it? And so the Maxcom agencies then get to look at it, play with it, so it's a beacon for innovation. And I think that's a terrific opportunity, and it seems to work so far.
I've been going to the collaborative for a number of years, and the one thing that strikes me is that discussions that come up in the collaborative are always way ahead from when they come into public consciousness. So I appreciate the futuristic aspect of it. Can you talk about some of the things that you were really ahead of the game on, ahead of the industry in terms of announcing?
Okay, so some things. Live mobile video from TV stations, we premiered that 3 years ago, the OMVC, and now it's taking off with the station group's dial. So that was one. Set-top box data, we got involved in 2008. We thought that was very interesting. We invited TiVo, Rentrac, AT&T, and Nielsen just to talk about audience, so that was another. Addressability. We did experiments with Navic early on, which enabled Navic to be bought by Microsoft at $200 million instead of $100 million by Canoe. It killed Canoe. Microsoft killed it. Chet, who's now doing Aereo, is having a good time. So we were able to do addressability in that regard. I think we've pushed metrics and advanced television, where we said, let's look at it. And we also did workflow. So my understanding is there's research, that's terrific, and then there's exactly what you can do, that's terrific, but if there's no workflow, we have helped Donovan Media Ocean understand all of the advanced television platforms so that they could then figure out, here's what they do in traditional video, here's what they do in digital, marry the two. So we believe in workflow as well. I think we did those. Social TV. Everyone's talking about it, a lot of buzz. About a year ago, we said, let's get them all on stage and see what they do. So there was Trender, there was Bluefin, which is now part of Twitter, there was General Sentiment, and we had Nielsen data. We wanted to show everybody, you hear about it, let's look how the top 10 shows do in Nielsen, the top 10 by each of them, so we could start to understand how to discuss them better. And I think those are 4 things right away that has worked with the collaborative so far and been ahead of its time. And I guess with ESPN for the non-ARF community, we're sharing that information that multiple screens will be in the future. We're trying to figure it out, and as Steve mentioned earlier, whether it's social or second screen or any number of screens and traditional screens or ad-supported VOD in any form of on-demand, we will put it together. We will have to understand it because it's who's buying the product, what do we know about them, not necessarily going back to a question you asked about age and demo, but really about behavior and their intentions. And we have more information. Now we have to suss through it, make sense of it, and all these platforms are going to help. Also what we're learning and trying to work on here is no longer economies of scale. So economies of scale is take a commercial and push it into another form. What we're doing here is economies of scope. We're having media take the lead a little bit on creative in the sense of saying in media we want to be in these platforms. Let the creative people know about it and say, so create any way you want, but in scope it's probably going to be better in its engagement, in the way we measure it, and therefore I think media for the first time is taking the lead. But not dictating how creative is. It's just saying, by the way, you're going to be on mobile. Do you really want 8 seconds of your 30-second commercial? Or do you want to do something else? You're going to be in a second screen. What value can you give? So that's what we're working on as well.
It seemed like a great value for Maxcom. Where do you see it going? What do you see for next time?
Well, there clearly was great value for Maxcom. We had our staff there, we had our management there. There were clearly a number of very important people in the audience. We had our clients there, we had the community there. And although we do want to give back, we do want to get some great value for both our staff, our management, and our clients. So we see great value and would like to see it done again. What might we see in the future there, Mitch?
So I think over-the-top devices, very important. We're in discussions with Roku. I'd like to look at smart TV platforms. We've just done a paper on smart TVs. It's fascinating, and there are deals with Intel to create their own platforms. So that's one. I think CBS just did a deal with SyncBack. So the whole watch ABC, watch CBS, watch ESPN is something that is very interesting because it's going to change the affiliate relationships. It's going to have other advertising opportunities. So I think those are two that we're very interested in. I'm trying to think. I think I'd like to do more on TV extensions. I'd like to do more about how broadband might, through all the different devices they are connected with, whether it's mobile or over the top or plain broadband for that matter. I'd like to see some more studies done about that. That's what I've thought about so far because it's been 4 days.